Welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to understand how to achieve late binding using virtual function in C++. Let's take the same example that we have discussed to understand the view of a virtual table of base class and derived class. So we are going with the same example here to achieve or to implement the late binding. So what we did, we are taking the same example. Base class will have two virtual function has implemented. Def D1 has inherited from base, public inheritance, and similarly D2 also publicly inherited from base. D1 have its own function 1 version and D2 have its own function 2 version. For function 2 of D1 will take from base class and function 1 of D2 will take from base class. For other two functions, they will take their own version. So now what we did, we have created an object of D1. So we know that when we created object of D1, what will happen? It will have two parts. It will have D1 part as well as it will have base part. And from the base part it get the VPTR. So here the VPTR will be available because VPTR is public data member which is inserted by the which is inserted by the compiler at the time creation of the object during compilation. So now what this VPTR of, this is object of D1. What this VPTR of D1 object will have? It will have the address of what? It will have the address of virtual table of D1. Okay. Next, what we did, we have created a pointer called dptr of type base and we are assigning the address of D1. So during the pointer of derived class, I have discussed this point in detail. So when a base pointer is pointing a derived object, it can access only the base part of the class. It is not allowed to access the derived part. It can access only the base part. Next, see further. So here is the address of the base class virtual table and here is the address of D1 class virtual table and here is the address of D2 class virtual table. Now, what is the value of BPTR which is holded by the DPTR? DPTR is what? DPTR is the pointer of base class and BPTR is what? BPTR is now the inherited member of D1. It is get inherited from the base class. So now what will be the value? The value will be the address of D1 virtual table. So it will have the address of D1 virtual table. Okay, now I hope you understand the idea here. Now dptr is pointing the address of D1, so it will have the address of D1 virtual table. Okay, and D1 virtual table have what? It have its fun1 its own implementation and function 2 has copied from base. Now let's go further to this example. We'll try to call this function now using dptr. So VPTR of D1 holding the address of D1 virtual table. So now it is calling function 1 using dptr. Now there is two versions of function 1 of base and function 1 of D1. Now we need to understand which function gets called. See, to resolve this function call, compiler needs to be use the information of virtual table. Without seeing the virtual table, this function call cannot get resolved. This is the reason we call virtual table also a lookup table. And this is the reason virtual function, when calling using a pointer, this function call get resolved at runtime. And we called it late binding or runtime polymorphism. Why polymorphism? Because there is a two definition of function 1 is available. 1 or from D1, 1 from base. So this is another reason it is called runtime polymorphism and late binding. Now it gets called from, let's see the D1 virtual table again. Let's see the D1 virtual table again. So D1 virtual table for fun1 have the entry of D1. So means it's going to call the function from which class? It's going to call the function from derived class itself. Okay, I hope the idea is clear here. This is called late binding. Okay, now let's see another example here. Now in this case, base class object is created in base class pointer pointing the address of base class object. And now we are calling fun1 using bptr. Now what is the value of bptr? bptr, to resolve this function call, it's going to check the virtual table of the object who is pointing by the bptr. So bptr need help of the virtual table of base, because in this case bptr is have the address of virtual table of base, because bptr is pointing an object of base class. So bptr arrow fun1 is going to call from the base class, because base class cannot call any function from the derived class unless and until it is virtual and base class pointer pointed an object of derived class. So which function get called? Here this function, function1 from base class get called, class base. Okay, so I hope you understand how we achieve late binding using the base class pointer and derived class object with the help of virtual function, virtual table, and virtual pointer. Now let's look at the difference between virtual function call and normal function call. By mistake I put a class here, it should be normal function call. Calling a virtual function is slower than calling a null virtual function for a couple of reasons. First, let's see. First, we have to use bptr, correct, to get the appropriate virtual table. Second, we have to index the virtual table to find the correct function, because I mentioned virtual table is what? It is a static array. So when there is an array, we need to go through the perfect index to retrieve the function address and get the call done. Only then we can able to call a virtual function. As a result, we have to do 3 operations to find the function call, as opposed to 2 operations for a normal indirect function call, or 1 operation for direct function call. Indirect function call means a function, normal function, get called by another function. In that case, 2 operations is required. Direct call, when a function call by its name directly, then directly only 1 step is required. So as compared to these steps, virtual functions required 1 extra step. It need to first create a virtual table. You need to go to beyond the virtual table using bptr of the class, and it's also need to do indexing. So this is the reason there is a suggestion, ignore whenever it is possible making a function of virtual. I hope your idea regarding late binding using virtual function is clear, and different concept related to virtual function, virtual table, and virtual pointer is also clear. In next lecture, we're going to discuss about another part of virtual function we called pure virtual function, and abstract class we're going to discuss about this.